Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. Here we are about better. That's what we all want, right? Well, not all of us. I mean, those of us interested in something other than increasing our following and our flow of cash. Those of us who actually want a better society. Because we all know the problems. We all know the division. We all know what's driving it and who. But how do we get better? Howard Beale resonated in the movie Network. Why? You have to get up. You have to go to the window. You have to call the congressman and say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Anger can be a very powerful initiating motivation. It can motivate anger. It doesn't have to be just animus. It doesn't have to just be negative, but it's also not enough. And what about when everything is anger and outrage? That's where we are. Then it isn't a starting point, it's an end. And if you want better politics, better policies, better potential as individuals, families, and communities, you got to do more than just get angry, because it never ends. And that's what we do here. The Kimmel kerfuffle is just another symptom of our illness. People heard what they wanted to hear from him last night.
Clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man, nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow.
Now, I wish I had been wrong, but this went exactly as I thought it was. Not what Jimmy said, how it was responded to. MAGA heard a non-apology after too short of a suspension and a resumption of targeting the administration in a way they don't find funny. And you know what? If enough people feel that way and complain, Kimmel will be kibble, okay? But on the other side of the ideological Berlin Wall that my friend described for me, which is so accurate to where we are, people saw a returning hero who refused to yield in the name of free speech. Now, here's what was interesting to me. Kimmel was right to remind about Erica Kirk forgiving her husband's killer. Why? What was so powerful about that? It was totally missed. The MAGA people said, oh, he's just saying he wants to be forgiven and he's using her. And then people on the left were like, oh, that was a little weird because, you know, I feel like she's not that genuine in the whispering and she made a lot of money and there's all this other stupid stuff. They just missed the point. Why? Because all they seek is advantage. I highlighted what Erica Kirk said for you right after I saw the memorial. Why? Because, man, have we lost touch with what is supposed to be a statement of our humanity. You know, Jimmy Kimmel just gave you a little hack there. You know that, right? When he said, this matters to me as a human being, what he was saying to you is that often what I'm doing here is I'm playing, I'm acting, I'm projecting a persona that I think will work for me. A lot of people in the media do that, okay? The only difference between me here and when I'm not here is that I curse a lot more when I'm not here. But for most people, it's a persona, okay? And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, and I'm going to relay this to you a little bit more in a moment. Hey, man, hold on. It's just an act, man. So hold on. I can't tell you how many people in this business have said that to me. But the reason Erica Kirk resonated so deeply, at least with me, was whether you're a person of faith or not, we are too focused on taking people down. And all it's doing is bringing all of us down and our society with it. We can't get anything done. We can't fix anything. We can't make anything better. In fact, these guys in power, they're not even incentivized to do it anymore. They get elected by saying they won't do it. They'll just oppose the other side. As long as we are addicted to what and who is worse, nothing gets better. So, what is the proposition? Whether it's for Jimmy or for me or for you, you either choose to feed into the rage or you choose to practice what so many like to preach. What Erica Kirk laid out there and said she was doing in one of the hardest circumstances I could ever imagine even saying it, let alone trying to do it. To forgive the man who ruined her family. This show will test power, and it will get hot here, but I will not be reduced to rage bait and gotchas. We will get both sides. We will shame division. We will push for better outcomes. Now, you can say I'm part of the problem, but I'm not out there chasing viral moments or faking hot takes or convincing you to hate a side. And I know I could pick a side and do very, very well, because let me tell you something. The people I see succeeding are not impressive to me. But I've made a decision. I owe it to my family and my country to do better than I've done in the past. There's no success. I've had all the success, and there is no success that fills this dissatisfaction I have with where we are. There's no success that I could have from here on out that would mask the shame that should come with it of the people who are succeeding that way right now. I believe nothing gets better until we stop rewarding empty outrage. The digital denizens using their platforms to stop people on the street. What do you think? You have something nasty to say? Looking to fuel the fire, jumping lawmakers, hunting for heat, not light. They're all noise, no signal, and they know it. And that's why what they celebrate is their reach. Oh, thank you for more followers. And that's why they're so forgettable and why they need a new fix so often. There's got to be a new thing they're pissed about, like every 5 minutes. They make nothing better other than their bank accounts by tripping algorithms that are designed to reward the wrong things. So I'm not just talking about the players. I'm talking about those running the game. Did you know over 40% of the S&P 500 are now tech companies? My man Scott Galloway, Professor G, was educating me about this the other day. And you know how they fuel their growth, right? Attention. And you know what the choice is of how to get that attention, right? It's to monetize outrage. You know it's intentional, right? You know they amplify it by design using the algorithms. This is their business plan. And how do the other 60% of the companies get in on the action? Where do they put their ads? Next to the most outrageous content. Engagement equals enragement. You really should flip that. Enragement is engagement. I piss you off, I got you. And this rage economy is what too often motivates my business. Fox News is the top of the food chain, right? Here's what their big names have been putting out after what we just all suffered as a tragedy in this country.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something, just kill him.
And we're going to avenge Charlie's death in the way Charlie would want it to be avenged. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us.
We don't care. We don't care about your both sides argument. That shit is dead.
What we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. It is in New York, though, right?
Yeah,
Could be some fallout there.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe gas it.
Having a smile doesn't make something funny. Saying to avenge Kirk, blow up the UN, now you say that stuff? But it wasn't funny when Kimmel said something much less inflammatory, right? It's so disingenuous. It's so hollow. They have to know they are provoking people. They just don't think it's going to affect them in any way but more ratings. But think of it this way. They've said plenty of nasty stuff about me, right? If I were to act on that invective and I were to find one of those guys, or I were to find all of them without cameras, and I was to return their anger and want to act on their words and their insults, you know what they would say? Whoa, calm down, man. Oh, you're taking this too seriously. No, I didn't mean it that way. Come on, man. I'm on the show, man. And I've heard that before. Because now they're worried about the implications. See, the problem is there are too many people out there hearing what they put out, not getting that second message. To calm down. I don't mean it that way. And you wonder why we've had another political shooting already. And what are they getting all angry about? What are they telling you to blow up the UN for? Trump's escalator stopping at the UN? And now the president is demanding an investigation? Good. Why don't we investigate your new crypto business and your plan to privatize our currency reserves? Why don't we investigate that? Look at how we're treating another act of political violence that just happened in Texas at the ICE facility. I told you there was going to be more, and there's going to be more after this. Why wouldn't they? Everything we're doing is motivating more. Think about how crazy this is if you're a parent. You get a call from school that your kid did something stupid. Kid comes home. You look at your wife. Your wife looks at you. Is the first line of inquiry, this is you, this is how you raised him? No, this is how you raised him. This is your son. That comes way later. When you find some reason to laugh about it, all you want to know is why. Why did you do this stupid thing? Why? How do we fix what's wrong in your head? We're not doing that as a society. You go on social media, and all people want to know is which side this guy is acting for. I mean, don't you want to know what motivated him to do this, where he got that idea? Well, he only shot detainees. Well, but then he wrote anti-ICE things on his ammo, so of course, now what happens? I want to see the bodies. I don't believe that they wrote on it. I think this is convenience. Everything's a conspiracy because you trust nothing, you believe nothing. Why? Because it suits your convenience of advantage. You're not really skeptical. You're skeptical when it suits you. And you're gullible when it suits you. So the other side, of course, is only going to, one side cares about the ammo, the other side cares about who was targeted. Because it's all about blaming the other, because that gets you the advantage. When all that really matters is understanding what motivated this guy and how do we stop it. And I'm telling you why nobody wants you to be curious about that. Because the people who are feeding the ideas and amplifying the worst of the ideas are getting paid for it, and they are legally exempt from responsibility. And if I'm being honest, if I'm being completely honest, I am not sure how many want the violence to stop. Because if you wanted it to stop, you would stop doing what got us here. We will rue the day that we abandoned decency in favor of the ugliest form of advantage. Mark my words, it is a mistake to reward people who rage bait. It is a mistake to give a pass to companies that are absolutely controlling content that is poisoning our society. I will not be a part of it, and I promise you that on this show every night. So let's get perspective on what we're seeing and what it means, especially with Jimmy Kimmel coming back. Bill O'Reilly was on here and had some of the most even commentary on Kimmel I heard in the build-up to this moment last night. And now I want to know what he thought when he actually heard him and where it takes us. Bill, thank you for being with me as always. What did you see and hear last night? What do you think it means?
You got to give me a minute at the end to gloat about my #1 bestseller, okay? Just giving you a signal here. Kimmel. So I'm glad he's back on the air. I think Nexstar is going to put him back soon. I don't know about Sinclair, but they'll probably put him back. But I don't think that Jimmy Kimmel has learned anything at all. And that's because he's a zealot. And when you're a zealot, you can't grasp the logic of a situation. It wasn't Trump that wanted to take him off the air or Carr. It was the folks in the cities across the country who called up the affiliated stations, and said, you got to do something when a nationwide television person accuses MAGA of being involved in a heinous assassination. You've got to do something. This is hundreds and thousands of calls from the folks. They said it's enough. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't understand that, and he's enabled by the corrupt media that don't want to tell the truth about censorship and denial of freedom of expression in this country. They don't want you to know what's really happening, and that's a total blackout of non-liberal point of view on 5 of the biggest television corporations there are. Total blackout, 100%. Okay, you can't get on, I can't get on. Leland Vittert, who has a brilliant book called Born Lucky, and the special will be on 8 p.m. Sunday, can't get booked on the networks. And it's about autism, how Leland Vittert overcame it. And autism is all over the news. And CBS, NBC, and CBS won't put him on to discuss his book. Can you explain that to me, Cuomo?
Yes. It is a Berlin Wall. My friend Nika gave me the metaphor, and she grew up with the real Berlin Wall.
Okay,
it's
all
an
right,
ideological
so,
wall, and if you're on the wrong side, it's like you don't exist.
But Leland's not on any side. I mean, he's not some kind of
But that's not how he's
guy.
perceived by those people, and that's why they're boxing him out.
Well,
I agree with you. I think the kid kills himself, to be fair, to be honest.
That's not freedom of expression. There is no freedom of expression in 5 giant media companies in this country. And they're portraying Jimmy Kimmel as a victim. Okay. So if I were talking to Kimmel instead of you tonight, I would say, Jim, you're a talented guy. I've been on your show 5 times. We had a great rapport. I think you're a funny guy. I don't think you're a bad guy. I think you're a hero father for what you did to your son who had a very serious malady. But you're a zealot. You went over into a land where you can't come back from fanaticism. And you're there. And you got to stop. You got to clear your head. You're a comedian. Get both sides. There's plenty of material on both sides. Mm-hmm. All right? Is that illogical? And Disney doesn't care what Kimmel says. All right? They didn't care that there was almost a rebellion in the country over the MAGA Charlie Kirk comments. Disney didn't care. They're in Burbank, California, in a giant liberal bubble. They hear nothing else but their own far-left points of view reinforced. And you can't even get a show look if you're not a liberal in Hollywood. You can't even get considered. It's insane what's happening. That's the real story. Now, there's also another aspect of the story, and I gave some advice to President Trump generally. I didn't tell him face-to-face because I haven't spoken to him since 9/11. Don't get involved, Mr. President. You got to deal with Putin and China and getting grocery prices down, and you got to deal with all kinds of things.
Listen.
The budget. No, but there's a reason why I'm saying don't get involved. It doesn't do you or the country any good. It doesn't. All right?
You really think that that's his bar? Do you think he really thinks is this good or not for the country? You think that's why he puts up a picture in the Hall of Presidents of the auto pen, or why he puts out as much stuff as he does? Come on. He's not thinking about the overall country.
Unlike you, Cuomo, I'm not a mind reader. I know that in certain areas, big areas, important areas, he's trying to do the right thing for the country. I know that. Now, the petty stuff, that's where he gets into trouble. But I'm trying to say, look, you're at a point in history now where there are severe problems that you have to deal with. Don't
I agree.
Run yourself down by getting involved with Jimmy Kimmel. But
I agree. That's great advice.
Trump's outrage is righteous because he knows for the past 10 years that 5 major television news organizations and every urban newspaper in this country have tried to destroy him. And it's natural to seek retribution because if they try to destroy him, they're going to try to destroy me or you or whatever. And Trump has
Yeah.
exposed that at the highest level.
I don't agree with that analysis.
Not that he's
I think Trump gets more criticism than anybody else. He also asks for more criticism than anybody else. And he also says more of what you call petty things than we've ever had to process before. And there's no question that everything's out of control. But the idea that he's a victim of it, and that's the end of the analysis, I disagree.
Okay, but now I'm going to prove you wrong. On the No Spin News tonight, I had John Malone. You know Malone, right? A billionaire, oversaw Time Warner Discovery, which runs CNN. And he was
right before
a
they
champ
fired
to come
me.
on because he knew it wasn't going to be a cupcake interview like all the others that Mr. Malone did because, you know, I said to him, when you watched what CNN has become, you were there. You're a huge stockholder. You saw it. You're smart enough to see it. You actually said stuff about it. They destroyed themselves by going into the Trump, I hate him mode and away from the James Earl Jones, this is CNN, we cover the world, into petty, we hate him, whatever it is, we don't like it. And it's destroyed CNN. I don't know whether people watching tonight know that NewsNation beat on a very important news day, the Charlie Kirk Memorial, beat CNN and MS combined. NewsNation slaughtered them, where in 10 years ago, 15 years ago, CNN would have been the top because people came to that network for news. They've destroyed themselves hating Trump. Kimmel has damaged himself as a performer for hating Trump. And people should understand that this is a double edge here, this kind of stuff. Now, I have one comment to make about Dallas, and it's an important comment. There's no question that this is political violence. No question that it's political violence. It's done by people who are mentally ill, just like the Charlie Kirk alleged assassin, mentally ill. His own family says, we watched him be radicalized on the deep, dark recesses of the internet. That's the testimony, okay? So we know that this fuse has been lighted, and the media, and to some extent the politicians, not just President Trump, but all of them, have helped the fuse, okay? They've helped it. But you cannot let wrongs go. And that's why in my book, Confronting Evil, all right, I say you've got to understand what the evil is. You've got to understand it before you can deal with it, confront it, combat it, defeat it. And here in America, we don't understand what the evil is. I mean, a majority of young people in a recent poll said political violence is okay. A majority. And we don't understand what evil is. And that's why I wrote the book.
Why wouldn't they? What do they hear from their leaders? What do they see from the influencers? What is legally amplified by the places they spend the most time, which is social media? That's all they're getting. It's reinforced again and again and again.
Not
it's
all
almost
they're getting.
confusing to hear anything else. Oh, yes, it is.
The most important part of a young
percentage.
person's persona, the most important part of a young person's persona, and you know this to be true, is the parents. Okay? They're the ones that shape
so hard,
the morality
Bill. Nature
of their
versus
children.
nurture has
It's not hard
gotten
for
so
me.
lopsided with these smartphones, Bill. It's gotten so lopsided. They're on it all the
Wasn't
time.
hard
They're
for
around
me.
their friends. Of course, you can counter it, but it's not easy. You got lucky, pal. You got lucky.
Okay.
I got to jump. Is your book still #1? Speaking of outrage?
Still, it opens #1 on Sunday, the New York Times list. The 20th time, Cuomo, and you don't know anybody who has had 20 #1 bestsellers because there is
No, but I know
only
you do
one.
because you tell me every time I see you, you say it. So I'm well aware.
But
I
isn't
get this
that-
question right on Jeopardy.
Isn't that an accomplishment that I should be proud of?
Huge. Huge. I don't even think I've read
you.
20 books, let alone penned 20 #1s. Congratulations on
And
your
that
success.
shows on
Thank
this
you for being a
program.
part of the show. I know, but I'm
I want
changing.
you to-
Thank you, Bill.
I want you to get Leland Vittert on the network news. I want you to go on a crusade and get Leland on those programs. And if they don't put him on, shame them. This is an important
One more.
story. Leland's book is about hope.
All right.
Okay?
Dusty says if we
There
go to
you go.
commercial right now, she'll get him on The View. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Dusty used to run The View. Let's see if she's good to her word. When we come back, I want to talk to Jim Jordan, okay? So powerful in Congress. He's very happy about what he just learned about Google and the Biden administration interfering and YouTube now bringing people back. Of course, he's happy because they're all his people. But what is the bigger fix and what is he doing about it? A big member of Congress, Republican Jim Jordan, Ohio. Next. All right, let's bring in Jim Jordan, representative from Ohio. A big development on the free speech first, confirmation of concerns about what was going on with the Biden administration during the pandemic and a potential fix. Good to have you, Jimmy. Thank you for joining me. What do you make of the discovery and the fix?
Well, just like these other platforms, you know, last year we heard from Meta, and they said the same thing. The Biden administration pressured them to censor. They did it. They're sorry. They're not going to do it again. They've actually put in place some things that I think are really good on their platform. Heard the same thing from Google. YouTube was doing the same thing. They were censoring people after being pressured by the Biden administration. They've agreed now to reinstate people who actually were kicked off. Big names like Dan Bongino, for example. And then they've also, I think, made some other commitments that are real important. They said they're never going to use fact checkers like some of these other platforms did, these independent fact checkers. They always seem to be biased towards the left, frankly. So I think all in all, a good thing. And then finally, in their statement and letter to the committee, they indicated they're very concerned about now what is going on in Europe. And so are we, because the censorship that's taking place in the UK and in the European Union is truly frightening. And so... you know, we had a witness last year, Chris, and I know you believe this. We had a witness last year, Rupa Subramanya, a journalist from Canada, testified in front of our committee. And she said something I never forgot. She said the hallmark of Western civilization, Western culture, is the ability to have debate, free expression. And when you lose that and you have government pressuring people and censoring people, that is not a good thing. And so we're committed to protecting the First Amendment and free expression around the Western world as much as we can as well.
Jim, you and I have known each other a pretty long time when you think about it. You look the same. I now look more like my father than I looked like myself when I met you.
No,
believe me when I tell you this.
You're still working out hard.
Jim,
I know you're getting your workouts in.
I'm strong as a mofo, but not what I was. Jim, this I know, though. I know this. Don't let these guys play you. What they are doing themselves is worse than anything that has been done to them. They are amplifying outrage for profit. They've given a pass by that 96 Act and Section 230. They are absolutely creators. And if you can't look at our social media, like neither of us are going to want to look at the comments after this segment. Why? Because they only push the outrage because it's what gets them paid, Jim. You guys need to work. They're not victims. They have to be held to account for what they push for profit, Jim, and you guys aren't doing anything about it.
Yeah, well, look, no one's saying that, you know, these are some of the biggest companies in the world, biggest companies on the planet. I mean, their market cap is huge. So these are big companies. No one's saying they're the victims. In fact, they were the ones who succumbed to the pressure from the government to actually censor people. So what we're focused on, though, and I understand there's been talk about Section 230 and how that may need to be changed. Look, what I know is our job, particularly the Judiciary Committee, is to protect the Constitution, protect the Bill of Rights, protect Americans' freedom. And that's what we're out to do. And so when we have government pressuring anyone and causing censorship to happen, we're gonna investigate, and we're gonna do whatever we can to help that to stop that. So that's where we're focused. I understand what you're raising, and look, we can look at that. One of the questions we got from this issue with YouTube is, well, these people are now being reinstated, but what about all the lost revenue? What happened to that? When they got to build their channel back up again. I understand that, but I look at the glass half full. They admitted that it was going on. They're reinstating people. That is a win for the First Amendment. That is a win for free expression, and that's a good thing. And so that's what we're focused on.
Listen, I get it. Nobody wants state action. That's why Brendan Carr saying stupid things on Benny Johnson's podcast. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. He keeps his tongue in his mouth that way because that reeked of state action. Nobody wants that. It's wrong. It's anathema to our Constitution. These guys are doing a lot worse. And Jim, in 2021, you were in favor of getting rid of Section 230. The only thing that's changed since then is that now you're in the majority. Now you got a shot. I know they have a lot of money. I know they're scary, and I know they flex. They're killing us, Jim. They're killing us.
Yeah, but now look, the counter argument is you get rid of 230, and then what? They're going to be so afraid of being sued all the time that what kind of do you really have open debate like we want in our culture, in our society? Because remember, like these online platforms, that's now the town square. Everyone gets it. That's why when the Biden administration, as an example, set up the Disinformation Governance Board, as if a bunch of bureaucrats can tell you what you can say, what you can read, what you can post, what you can tweet. I mean, it was ridiculous. Yeah. And of course, a bunch of us raised the concerns about this. You did, we all did, and it's been disbanded, thank goodness. So that's what we have to focus on, I think, primarily. We're willing to look at everything else. That's fine. I'm with you. I do think you got to be careful. You want the open debate to happen. You want any type of, if there's any type of, obviously illegal activity on there where they're promoting terrorism or all kinds of crazy. Of course, that's not allowed. But you got to be careful about what you limit there because it's got to be consistent with the First Amendment.
It's not just about what you limit. I mean, look, even terrorism, got to be very careful. Our legal protection of what used to be called fighting words and hates has been expanded, right? You probably can talk about terrorism. You'd have to trip a legal test of how imminent, how specific. But what I'm saying is this. Tell them you're right. We want free and open debate. Don't you touch the scale. Don't you amplify, don't you design algorithms that push certain things because they piss people off, and that's where you make your money. But look, I'm happy you got movement on the censorship side. Every journalist should be in favor of that. You're always welcome here to talk about this. I'm going to chase you on this, Jim, because I know that I'm right about this, and nothing changes if nothing changes. But I appreciate you coming on, and I wish you well.
You too. Thanks, Chris. Good to be with you.
Jim Jordan, thank you. Be well. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm telling you, I know I'm right about this. I know. And again, I want free and full debate. I benefit from that. I want the marketplace of ideas. I want them all. You know why? Because if they're all out there, the best ones will eventually rise to the top. Just don't touch the scales. And they got their ugly paws all over them. Now, the president says don't take Tylenol. Now we see these videos of women like throwing handfuls of Tylenol in their mouth. This is like, silly. It's just silly, all right? Let's do it the right way. You saw me with the FDA guy. He didn't want to back up what the president said fully. What does the report say? What does the research say? What is reasonable? Not what the president played with. The facts. Next.
Taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. Don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it.
Now, here's the problem. It's not what Harvard says. It's not what the report they put out says. And the FDA guy was on here, and he didn't even want to echo it. He ran right away from the question. So, what does the report say? What does the research say? What is the smartest thing for you to do with the information? All right, let's bring in Dr. Drew Pinsky, the host of Health Uncensored with Dr. Drew on Lifeline, friend of show, and also friend of show and mentor to me when we do our reporting together, founder of Trial Site News, SITE News, Dan O'Connor. Gotta go, gotta subscribe. Really great first-rate reporting, okay? Thank you both. Dan, I know I'm not wrong. Okay, what the president said is not what the report said. It seemed to me that they got a little tripped up here with correlation versus causation, but you're the pro. Dan, what did Harvard find and how?
Harvard did a navigation analysis. It was not a meta-analysis. It's a type of study that looks at many different underlying studies, and it was about 46 studies, I believe. And what they found was definitely a signal, and that signal is strong enough to have some concern. There's no doubt about that. However, it's not a smoking gun. There are many limitations to this study, and there's another branch of research, Chris, that shows that reveals there is not a signal. So the evidence is somewhat split. There definitely seems to be a significant signal that raises concern, and we need to take it seriously.
Dr. Drew, the recommendation on the report from Harvard is, I'll recommend, they don't say don't take it. They don't say what the president says. They say take the least for the shortest amount of time, keep the range of why it's used very narrow, and talk to your doctor. That's what they said. Does that make sense to you? What are you doing with your patients?
It makes sense. Why would you take it? There is almost zero benefit, and there's a non-zero chance of it being problematic. It's an analgesic, it's an antipyretic. If the fevers are very high, then by all means, your doctor is going to recommend you take Tylenol. But if you have a shoulder pain or some back pain, it's probably not worth the risk. Pregnant women shouldn't be taking anything. And this is just a further reminder of that. Listen, it only takes 15 to 20 of those Tylenol pills we're looking at. You take that all at once, you will be dead in 3 days. It is one of the most lethal ways to commit suicide. These are not completely benign, although we treat it that way. During pregnancy, when the chromatin is open, pregnant women, in my opinion, should be exposed to as little as possible. And here now is a signal reminding us, CDC doing what it's supposed to do, HHS advising us, not taking medication away, not telling us exactly what to do, advising us that there's a signal. And Trump then said, hey, this is a common sense thing. Why would you do it? Don't do it. But the physicians, the scientists have to say, there's a signal, talk to your doctor. There are conditions where the risk reward is worth it, but most of the time, avoid it if you can.
I think that that all makes sense, Dan. I think he's been a little generous on what the president did, but look, we're in silly season, okay? The president goes way too far with what he says, which is weird for a president to do. And then people start throwing handfuls of Tylenol down their throats and making videos of it, some of them saying that they're pregnant. So, Dan, where does it leave you and the work that you do at Trial Site? What do we need here?
You know, the problem here, and we've talked about this before, Chris, is the lack of nuance, first of all. First of all, no politician should be making declarations about what drugs people should take, okay, period. That should be done with doctors like Dr. Drew. I mean, and this is a continuation of COVID where they had one message, now there's another message. So it's an ongoing politicization of medicine, drugs, et cetera, healthcare, number one. Number two, we need to be able to learn to communicate the nuance, not speak in generalizations or either or false dilemmas. There are scenarios, as Dr. Drew said, where, severe situations where even someone that's pregnant, a pregnant woman might need Tylenol. So it should be left up to the doctor. It shouldn't be politicized in this way. And, Chris, quickly, there are tweets going out there or X messages that, we now have we found a cause, and that's just not true in this case.
Right. So
found a what?
A cause.
A cause.
A cause for autism. Yeah, because that's what we do right now. Everything's about the gotcha. Everything is about the blame. Dr. Drew, thank you for being reasonable about it. Thank you for encouraging people to be reasonable. And I appreciate you for it. And Dan, thank you for scrubbing it for us. Thank you very much, both of you fellas. We'll talk again soon. I'm sure I'm going to be asking you both for advice probably within 24 hours. Take care. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Up next, a lot is coming at you. How do you feel about it? What matters to you? Have your say. 844-968-7720. I do the job for you. I also do the job with you. Who do you have?
Hi,
Dusty.
Hi, I have Ron from Lynbrook, New York.
Lynbrook, what do you got? What's your question?
Listen, Charlie Kirk's wife forgave the assassin, and that might have been on the surface. It might have been just for the public, for a play. But how can someone in their heart forgive someone? It just annihilated their wife and their children's life. This one's got to start from ground zero. How can you be big enough to do that?
Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I am a Christian, but it's a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite either, Chris. Tell me you wouldn't have some animosity also, Chris.
Listen, one of the reasons that I have been successful at this job is because I can relate to most of the worst instincts that human beings have. If somebody hurt my family, I could absolutely see me getting my hands on them and destroying them. That would be me at my worst. And that should not be our social instruction, and that is not Jesus' message. How does she do it? She leans into her faith. And she doesn't make the mistake of believing that someone has to deserve forgiveness or they have to ask for forgiveness for you to give it to them. It's not the Bible. It's not Jesus' teaching. How does she do it? She did it just the way you saw. I don't think she was posing. I think she took the position and said what made sense in her heart and also makes sense for her and her family, because if you don't forgive, you'll be poisoned by the hate forever. Next.
Next, okay, Eugenio from Wilmington, Delaware.
Eugenio, what's your question?
Hi, Chris. Eugenio from Delaware, an Italian like you. Yeah, my question is what do you think about the president's speech yesterday at UN and all those critics against the allies and in this specific moment, so delicate, and why? Thanks.
When I hear the president speak, I think first, elections have consequences. And second is that I wish he wouldn't say things the way he often says them, okay? I don't disagree with Bill. I can't say that the president in his heart isn't trying to do what he thinks is right ever. I can't say that. That's Trump derangement syndrome. I just wish he said things different ways. But he won. I didn't. All right, you got another one, or are we done?
Nope, gotta go.
Gotta go. We'll be right back. Leland Vittert has a book, Born Lucky, which is a tremendous story of the love of his father and his parents and what led him to his very bright future. Hello, my friend. We were talking about you tonight on the show.
I heard. Thank you for the kind words with Mr. O'Reilly, and I will accept your invitation to come on the Chris Cuomo Project anytime.
Oh, that's a given. I just thought you wanted real reach. Dusty said she's going to get you on The View.
Well, you know what? It would be interesting because we have tried to get booked on every one of the networks. It's the story about how my dad, when I was diagnosed with autism, adapted me to the world, not the world to me. You'd think the ladies of The View would want to hear a story like that, especially with the discussion of autism now. No interest.
Let's see if Dusty can get it done. She's remarkable.
That she is. I was waiting for a camera to pop up. It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the support.